Hi everyone, I'm Ksenia and you're watching the Wall Art World channel. In this video, I will demonstrate you a sophisticated technique for applying Venetian plaster, allowing you to enhance the wall in your own home. Before we begin, a little about the preparation. The wall must be smooth and flat. I have already painted the base with acrylic paint and removed the roughness and bumps from roller with 240 abrasive. After sanding, it's crucial to remove the dust using a damp cloth. Wipe the surface clean and then you can proceed to create the decorative finish. In today's project, I'm using acrylic Venetian plaster. The brand doesn't matter as long as it's acrylic based. I've already tinted it in 5 necessary colors: 2 shades of green, blue, white and black. It's best to mix the color on a small plastic plate. Something like this works perfectly. I'm selecting various colors of the material and placing them onto the plate. You don't have to use all the colors at once, so I'm taking one of greens, black and white and lightly blending them. Next, I'll apply this mixture using a sea sponge. You need to wet the sponge and squeeze it well to ensure that it's not too wet. I load the Venetian plaster mixture onto the sponge by dipping it into the plate. The sponge should have a moderate amount of the material on it. And then I make impressions on the wall in this manner. I take my time and lightly touching the wall. I fill the wall in small sections, leaving some space between them to create more diverse pattern like this. I've applied a bit and then I'm taking trowel and spatula, and while the material is still wet, I'm smooth it in one direction. Then I repeat the process in opposite direction, removing excess as I go. I'll do this for all applied section, gradually smooth and remove excess from the spatula. The tool should always be clean. Then I'm taking the plate and sponge again to continue filling the wall. Wherever the area are gaps, I'll use the sponge to apply more Venetian plaster. During the application, you can layer the Venetian plaster. So, if you find that the pattern is not to your liking in a certain area, you can repeat the process in that spot. This way you can achieve pattern that suits your preference. It's crucial for the pattern to have fine detailing with various specks and streaks resembling marble. And pay attention that the applied section should not be perfectly even. If you applied them in square patches, it will seem very noticeable and unattractive. Now let's return to the application. I create another color mixture, adding another green, light grayish blue, white color and black. This time I'll use a second shade of green and the blue that I haven't used yet. I lightly blend the colors and then load them onto the sponge. I'll apply this Venetian plaster to the empty areas that haven't been filled with Venetian plaster yet. This will help the wall resemble natural marble more closely. In natural, marble doesn't have a uniform color throughout its surface, so we need to use the various shades mixtures and apply them in sections. After filling a small section, I smooth and remove the Venetian plaster using a spatula. I smooth it out, remove the excess and continue filling the rest of the surface using a sea sponge. There is no need to rush, we gradually fill the entire surface. When reaching corners, you can switch to a smaller sponge or a brush. I use a brush with stiff bristles. I'm dipping it into the Venetian plaster mixture and applying to the corner using specific strokes. I'll fill the corners where adjacent walls meet and smooth them with a spatula, moving both upwards and downwards. Okay, that completes the first layer of Venetian plaster. Now we allow it to dry for about 6 hours. The surface is completely dry. At this point, I want to lightly sand it to remove any rough spots. For this, I will use a 24 grit abrasive and sanding machine, but you can also do this manually. Okay, let's get started. I finished the sanding, so it's time to move on to the second layer of Venetian plaster. For this, I'll be using white Venetian plaster, which means plaster without any tint. You can also use another light color, but the key is to keep it light. If you use a dark color, the pattern from the first layer won't show up well, and that's not what we want. Before applying the plaster, it's necessary to dilute it with water by approximately 10% and mix it thoroughly. I'm applying the material with firm pressure on the spatula and moving it in different directions, making cross-scratch movements. We need to apply a very thin layer. I've done a small section, approximately 1 square meter, and made sure to have an uneven edge to create a beautiful seam between sections. Now the Venetian plaster hasn't fully dried yet, but it's no longer tacky. This indicates that it's time to give it a polished finish, which can be accomplished in 2 different ways. The first using Venetian trowel, and the second with sanding machine equipped for the 4000 grit abrasive. I opt for the second method because it's quicker and provides highly quality shine. I finished polishing the first section, and now I'll continue applying more Venetian plaster. I load the white color onto the spatula and apply it in thinly to the next section. The key is to move the spatula in various directions, creating a winding and a regular seam for the next section. I've applied it and given it a polished finish. For the corners, I polish them manually. I'll remove 4000 grit abrasive and polish them by hand. That concludes the second layer and polishing. Now we'll allow the Venetian plaster dry for about 24 hours. Okay, it's dry, so it's time to apply protective wax layer. It will give the surface shiny finish and provide moisture resistance. But make sure to use wax specifically designed for Venetian plaster, any other won't work. It's best to choose wax from the same manufacturer as your Venetian plaster to ensure compatibility. My wax is quite thick in consistency, so it's easy to apply with a spatula. If your wax is liquid, you can use a roller or a sponge. Here is how to apply it. Apply a thin layer of wax across the entire surface of the Venetian plaster. Start with a thick coat and then remove excess with the second pass. Gradually cover all the walls from corner to corner. It's not a complicated process, so take your time. The key is to ensure no area are left without wax. I finished applying the wax and now I wait for it to dry. Typically it takes 15 or 30 minutes, but it's best to check in the instructions on the wax container. Mine takes 20 minutes, so I wait that long before moving on to buffing it with wool attachment. Alternatively, you can do this manually with soft cloth, using a circular motions. I'm done, and the surface looks fantastic with beautiful shine. The wax has also enhanced the depth of the Venetian plaster pattern, making it resemble marble. You don't need any artistic talent for this. It's a straightforward process. By following this video, you can achieve a similar decorative effects on your walls. That's it for me. Make sure to subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up. Wishing you a great day and see you in the next video.